President Bola Ahmed Tinubu condoles family of late Sheikh Abubakar Giro Argungun. Jigawa state government bridged 60 kilometers of Hadija River to control flow in the state. Sudan's army chief dissolved Rapid Support Forces, RSF. Good evening. Today is Tuesday, 21st of Safar, 1444 after the Hijrah of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, equivalent to the 7th of September 2023. I'm Amina Ibrahim Shahada with the news. And from the news, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu sent his condolences and sympathy to the family, followers and associates of the prominent Islamic preacher Sheikh Abubakar Giro Argungu, who passed away yesterday. In a statement by his spokesman, Ajuri Ngele, described the death of the religious leader as a loss which reverberated beyond the late preacher's immediate community and as one that affected the entire country in view of his contributions to the canon of Islamic study and his renowned calls for moral rectitude. President Tinubu said voice of the Sheikh will long be remembered for his years of Islamic propagation and advocacy for righteousness. The president said the preacher will be greatly missed for his fearless advocacy for the downtrodden and for holding leaders accountable in meeting their obligation to citizens, and further condole with the family, the government and people of Kebbi State and the Nigerian Muslim community over this huge loss and prayed for the eternal rest of the soul of the departed cleric. Sheikh Abubakar Giro his date came barely a year and 9 months after his colleague in Kano, Ahmad Bampa, died. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has treated former President Olusegun Obasanjo over his comments on a petroleum refinery in Port Harcourt, Rivers State. In a recent interview with newsmen, Olusegun Obasanjo had emphasized his belief that the nation's refineries will never function efficiently as long as they remain under government ownership. While responding, President Bola Tinubu said Obasanjo is not an engineer, therefore he shouldn't make such comments. In August, President Bola Tinubu said the petroleum refinery in Port Harcourt will start production by December 2023 after the completion of the ongoing rehabilitation contract between the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited (NNPC) and the Italian firm. NNPC said it has been working to revamp the refineries, which were shut down entirely in 2021 and produced little or no fuel over the past decade. The National Working Committee of the All Progressive Congress (APC) has congratulated President Bola Ahmed Tinubu for his win at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, calling on Nigerians to join in building a prosperous nation. The court yesterday affirmed Bola Tinubu's win in the February 2023 polls, throwing petitions from Atiku Abubakar of the People's Democratic Party (PDP), his Labour Party counterpart Peter Obi, and the Allied People's Movement (APM). APC National Working Committee, in a statement signed by its National Secretary, Sirajuddin Ajibola Basiru, congratulated the President for his win at the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal. The Minister of Works, Deb Umahi, yesterday stopped some road construction in the southeastern part of the country, pending the review of the existing and additional contracts. Umahi gave the directive today in Enugu during the inspection of some ongoing constructions and rehabilitation of federal roads across states in the southeast. The minister expressed shock that 4 bridges and 3 kilometers of additional work were costing 15 billion naira. Dave Umahi also commended the quality of work done on some of the roads in Enugu, adding that he stopped certain payments until contractors and the ministry reviewed the existing contracts and additional works. The federal government has announced plans to expand the National Homegrown School Feeding Program to accommodate pupils of military schools across the country. The Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Alleviation, Dr. Bita Edu, disclosed this during her recent visit to the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Hassan Abubakar, in Abuja. The minister also hinted the idea of establishing a military desk office in the humanitarian ministry to liaise with them on constant basis. Coming to you from the studio of Sawaba Radio is the Global News. Stay with us for.
This is News on the Hour, Sawaba Radio FM. Stay tuned.
Welcome back. The defense headquarters says troops of the armed forces of Nigeria have in the last 3 months killed 817 terrorists, apprehended 1,326 criminals, and rescued 721 hostages in different operations across the country. The Director of Defense Media Operation, Major General Edward Buba, made this known while briefing newsmen on military operations across the country. Edward Buba said those apprehended include 42 kidnappers, 231 terrorist collaborators, 32 armed robbers, 80 cattle rustlers, 325 militias, 27 rails vandals, 73 gun runners, and 191 suspected oil thieves. He said in the northeast, the troops of Operation Hadinke killed 240 terrorists, arrested 276 terrorists and collaborators, and rescued 147 kidnapped hostages, as well as surrender of 4,560 combatant fighters with their families to the troops. In the North Central, the troops of Operation Safe Haven neutralized 94 terrorists, arrested 477 suspects, and rescued 76 kidnapped hostages. The Director of Defense Media Operations said in the northwest of the country, the troops of Operation Hadarindaji have neutralized 248 terrorists, arrested 116 suspected terrorists, and rescued 359 kidnapped hostages. The acting Comptroller General of the Nigerian Customs Service, Bashir Adewale Adeniyi, said there is an increase in smuggling of rice and illicit drugs across some borders in the country. The customs boss warned that such smuggling must be curtailed to safeguard Nigeria. CG Bashir said made the statement during an interactive session with officers and men of the Federal Operation Unit Zone B during a working visit to Kaduna State. He warned that there is a need to effectively for the police to effectively check the border with Niger Republic, warning that nothing should cross on either side, as the Economic Committee of West African State ECOWAS sanction is still in place. He also emphasized that the authority of ECOWAS has not changed its position regarding the closure of the border with Niger Republic, and further commended that Comptroller of Zone B officers for the Caesar the command has made so far under his watch, describing it as commendable. In Jigawa State, the state government says it has reached about 60 kilometers of Hadejia River and erected over 100 kilometers embankment to control flood in the state. Governor Umar Namadi said this while speaking with journalists in Dutse, the state capital, yesterday. He said that as part of proactive measures to avoid flooding, the state government procured 2 excavators, while the Hadejia Jama'ar River Basin Development Authority deployed 2 others to facilitate the smooth execution of the project. The governor said measures are taken to control flood and the provision of fertilizers and improved seedlings to Jigawa State farmers at 40% discount. Statistics of the Jigawa Flood Control and Mitigation Committee showed that 2022 flood affected 22 local government areas, submerged 1,554 villages, and 138,422.36 hectares of farmlands, while 130 persons lost their lives in the state. Still in Jigawa State, the State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Abdullahi Muhammad Kainwa, has signed a memorandum of understanding for the renovation and upgrading of the State Health Central Storage Facility, DUSE. Speaking at the ceremony, the commissioner said the gesture was aimed at transforming the facility into modern and international standard. He said the project, which will cost about 776 million naira, will be financed by a global fund and international partners based on its support on combating and eradication of HIV, tuberculosis, and malaria from the country. The commissioner assured that government will continue to partner with the fund and UNICEF toward the provision of good health care services to the people, adding that the project will last for 5 months. Because according to him, the fund is executing similar projects in 22 states and the FCT, Abuja. Also speaking, the UNICEF health specialist from Kano office, Ajia Saudat Bashir, said the project was initiated as a result of poor utilization during the COVID-19 response and drug supply chain in the state. Kaduna State Governor Duke Korada says his administration has so far recruited at least 1,500 community watch officers drawn from the 8 frontline local government areas of the state. The governor said that this is part of measures to empower the residents to defend themselves against terrorist attacks. Because according to him, the creation of the Ministry of Internal Security and Kaduna State Community Watch Corps was the beginning to deal with insecurity in the state. He further noted that the state has spent 7 billion naira to procure armored personal carriers, 65 Hilux vehicles, 700 motorcycles, provided training for the community watch corps officers and other security equipment. He also reeled out his government efforts to cushion the impact of the fuel subsidy removal, saying more plans will be implemented in due course. Governor Abba Kabir Yusuf of Kano State has sworn in 45 special advisors with an appeal to them to be prudent in discharging their primary assignment. The ceremony was held at the Government House today in Kano. The governor said their appointments were based on integrity and experiences, asking them not to betray his confidence in them. He directed all special advisors to work hand in hand with civil servants to pave the way for smooth implementation of government policies and programs. The governor had earlier appointed 72 special assistants, 44 senior special reporters, and 14 new special advisors, bringing the total number to 130. Only 4 women were sworn in as special advisors. And from the international scene, Sudan's army chief Abdel Fattah al-Burhan issued a decree to dissolve the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces (RSF). Al-Burhan, who also chairs the country's Sovereignty Council, directed the leadership of the armed forces and the concerned authorities to implement the constitutional decree to dissolve the RSF. The decision came as a consequence of the rebellion of these forces on the state and the grave violations they committed against citizens and the deliberate sabotage of the country's infrastructure. Earlier, the United States has sanctioned Abdul Rahim Hamdan Dagalo, the senior leader and regional commander of the RSF. Since the beginning of the war between RSF and the Sudanese armed forces on April 15th, thousands have been killed and more than 4 million displaced, especially in Khartoum and Darfur State. And we wrap up the news with this. But before I go, a recap of the major stories. From the news, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu condoles family of late Sheikh Abubakar Giro Arugungu. Jigawa State government dredged 60 kilometers of Hadija River to control flood in the state. And from the international scene, Sudan's army chief dissolved Rapid Support Forces (RSF). On behalf of the news department, now continue to announcer Algawas Abubakar Awad. I'm Amina Ibrahim Shahada. Have a good night.